Let's talk about washing our hands. Washing our hands is a critical part of our day-to-day activities. It prevents the spread of disgusting bacteria and germs that could make us, our family, and friends ill. We could be spreading those germs and bacteria by frequently touching surfaces and not properly washing our hands. What does it mean to properly wash our hands? I'm glad you asked. Take a look.
Hi guys, we're here at the microbiology laboratory at Hamilton Health Sciences, Hamilton General Hospital, and I'm joined today by Dr. Cheryl Main. We're going to show you guys the power of proper hand washing as we come into flu season. We're going to try out some really cool experiments so you can get a look at just how gross that stuff on your hands really is. So we're going to use a process called culturing, which is using this plate here to help develop the bacteria that you'd normally see on your hands so that you can visually see it without a microscope. And we're going to start with just plain unwashed hands. So I've touched stuff like doorknobs and handles and things that I might in my everyday life. And then what do we do next here?
So this plate has agar, which will allow the bacteria to grow. So take your 3 fingers and just press them onto the plate, just enough that you can sort of make a little dent in it. So then this will go into an incubator overnight and we'll see what grows.
So now we've got our slide with our unwashed hands, and now we're going to wash our hands 2 ways. How do people normally wash their hands?
To properly wash your hands, you need to wash them for at least 20 seconds. People often don't spend enough time, they don't take off their jewelry, and they don't dry their hands properly, which is an important component in getting the hands clean.
So now we're going to do it the right way.
Right. So you need to take off your ring and start up the water, and you're going to wash your hands for about 20 seconds, which seems like a really long time. It's about the length of time it takes to sing the song Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday Dr. Cheryl Main, happy birthday to you.
When you're finished washing, rinse them off and leave the water on. Get a towel, and once you've dried your hands, you can use the towel to turn off the water so you don't recontaminate your hands. Good job.
And so another great option is to use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer.
Yes. They're highly effective, and they don't require you to have access to a sink or paper towels. And as long as you rub in the hand sanitizer until your hands are fully dry, it's just as effective as washing at a sink for most things. So this is our plate that was cultured before hand washing. And each of the little white spots that you see on the plate is a colony of bacteria growing. Each of those spots started with 1 bacteria, and then they've grown into thousands to millions of bacteria, so much that we can actually see them with the naked eye.
And so that's why it's so important to be thorough in our hand washing. And we can't actually see viruses because they can only grow inside cells. But this principle does kind of give you a bit of a look into how they might grow and develop and move from surface to surface. So while we can't see them, just as important to get those off of our hands.
Correct. So let's see what your plate looks like when you wash your hands really poorly. So in this plate you can see that there are still bacteria growing, maybe not as many as before you washed your hands, but lots of white dots here that represent colonies of bacteria.
I did not do a very good job.
No, you didn't.
And this is all stuff that you can pass on from contact, so those little guys are going to live on the surfaces of your hands, and when you touch others or surfaces, they'll keep living. They won't die. They'll just move on to the next one.
That's right.
Ooh.
Okay, now let's see how well you did when you washed your hands well. So with
look at that.
Proper hand washing, we have almost no bacteria. We still have a few white dots, but not as many as before, and these are just skin organisms. Well, skin is a nice environment for bacteria to grow. It's nice and moist and warm, and it has nutrients just from the proteins in the skin. When you wash your hands, we do a number of things. So the soap itself helps to kill the bacteria, but the physical rubbing, the friction that we produce, wipes off some of them. and damages them as well. And then when you dry your hands properly, you're getting rid of even more. So you get a lot more benefit if you wash your hands properly and dry them fully.
3 things are needed to properly wash our hands: soap, water, and friction. Washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds is the best way to eliminate those disgusting germs and harmful bacteria. How does soap, water, and friction eliminate germs and bacteria? Let's figure it out. To answer that question, we first have to understand how soap works. Doesn't seem like rocket science, but in fact, both soap and water have pretty complex chemical backgrounds. In order to get a simple explanation, we refer to our friends at livescience.com. So here goes. Soap doesn't kill germs on our hands. Believe it or not, it only removes them. Germs stick to the oils and grease on our hands. It sounds yucky, but it's totally normal. Water alone won't remove much of the germs on our hands because water and oil don't like each other, so they won't mix. But soap, on the other hand, likes both water and oil. That's because soap molecules are a type of surfactant, which means they have one end that's water-loving or hydrophilic and one end that's oil-loving or hydrophobic. When you wash your hands with soap, the soap molecules act as a mediator between the water and oil molecules and bind with both of them at the same time. Then, when we rinse our hands, everything rinses off and the soap carries the germs and bacteria away. Let's take a look at this clip to show us how this works in real time. Get ready to pay attention. Look out for the vocabulary words and see if you can figure out how soap works. It's lab time. Today's experiment is magic milk. Be sure to ask your parents' permission before you begin this lab. The purpose of this experiment is to demonstrate what takes place when we properly wash our hands. You will need the following items: food coloring, dish soap, shallow bowl, milk, and cotton swabs. You can expand the experiment by testing more than one type of milk: almond milk, 2% milk, and whole milk. In that case, you will need more than one bowl. In this experiment, we tested using almond milk and whole milk. Don't forget to ask your parents' permission. Get ready and let's try it. Step 1. Pour enough milk to cover the bottom of your bowl. If you are testing the experiment using more than one type of milk, you will do this for each of your containers. Step 2. Add at least 4 drops of food coloring to the center of the milk in each container. The more food coloring you add, the more vibrant your chemical reaction will be when it takes place. Now is an excellent time to develop your hypothesis. What do you think will happen when the cotton swab is placed in the center of each container? What will happen when we place the end dipped in dish soap in the center? And what will happen when we place the end that has not been dipped in dish soap in the center? Write your hypothesis now. Time to test your hypothesis. In step 3, dip one end of the cotton swab into the dish soap. Step 4, using the end without dish soap, place the cotton swab in the center of the container. Observe. If you are conducting the experiment using more than one kind of milk, repeat this step for each type. Don't forget to record your observations. Step 5. Using the end with dish soap, place your cotton swab in the center of your container. If you are conducting the experiment, testing more than one type of milk, be sure to repeat this step for each kind. Also, watch carefully and don't forget to record your observations. Here's a quick recap of all the steps. First, ask permission, then gather your materials. Add the milk to your container, add food coloring to your milk. We're looking for reactions when we're dipping the cotton swab in the center of the colors in each container. We're trying the unsoaped end first, followed by the end of the cotton swab that does have soap. Make sure you write a hypothesis before you start. Have you tried it? If you did, your experiment should have gone a little something like this. This experiment demonstrates how soap molecules bond to bacteria and germs and push them out of the way. Rubbing our hands together when washing them creates friction, which helps the soap molecules carry away the germs when rinsing them under the running water. Now that we've completed our experiment, what's the next step? You've guessed it, we share it. Time for your lab write-up. Your lab report, or lab write-up, as they may be called, provides a summary of the lab experiment that you just conducted. Be sure to use your observations and your data. Your conclusion should indicate whether or not your hypothesis was correct. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to properly wash those hands.